You know, in the deepest, coldest heart of our world, buried under miles and miles of ice, there's a city. An impossible city. Its ruins whisper a history that's so much older than us, a history of masters, of servants, and of a rebellion that, well, it still echoes in the dark. Today, we're going to piece together the biography of the thing that survived all of that, a creature known simply as the Shoggoth.
That sound? That's the only sound you'll ever hear it make. It's not really a roar, not a scream, at least not in any way we would get it. It's this bizarre, almost musical piping. It's the cry of the Shoggoth. And for the handful of humans who've ever heard it and actually lived to tell the tale, it's the sound of a nightmare made real. It's the voice of a cosmic horror that's been on this planet for eons.
So what is a Shoggoth, really? I mean, to even begin to understand its story, we have to try and wrap our heads around its form, or maybe more accurately, its terrifying lack of one.
Okay, at its absolute core, a Shoggoth is basically a biological machine. This is not a creature that was born. It was manufactured. I want you to picture a living, thinking blob of protoplasm. It's like a biological multi-tool, created for one single purpose, to serve its creators, this ancient alien species we call the Elder Things.
The pure biological horror of this thing's design is just fascinating. I mean, imagine a 15-foot sphere of black, slimy ooze that can just sprout eyes, limbs, whatever organs it needs, wherever it needs them, and then just reabsorb them in a second. It's got incredible strength, it can survive the crushing depths of the ocean or even the vacuum of space, and apparently it gives off a stench so foul it can knock you out. This thing is the ultimate adaptable life form.
So where did this perfect biological weapon even come from? To get the monster, you have to go back to its makers. We're talking millions of years ago, long before the first spark of humanity, when Earth was colonized by this super advanced alien species.
See, the Elder Things were just brilliant bioengineers. They needed a workforce to build these huge, mind-bending cities at the bottom of the ocean. So what did they do? They just created one. Using their crazy advanced science, they manufactured the Shoggoths to be living automatons, controlling them with hypnotic suggestion. They were the perfect slaves, right? Strong, adaptable, and, the most important part, completely mindless. Or so they thought.
But what happens when the tool starts to think for itself? The entire history of the Shoggoth really hinges on this one crucial turning point, the moment the slave finally realized it was a slave.
Now, this wasn't a sudden thing. For millions of years, the Shoggoths just mimicked what their masters did. And through that constant mimicry, their protoplasmic bodies started to form these semi-stable brains, and accidental intelligence was born. Their first shot at freedom, it was crushed, ruthlessly, by the Elder Things. But the Shoggoths, they learned. Their final successful rebellion was a horrific, bloody war that completely shattered the Elder Things civilization and left the Shoggoths as the masters of their own dark, deep world.
And how do we know any of this? Well, because the Elder Things, in their hubris, they carve their entire history right onto the walls of their Antarctic city. In Lovecraft's story, the human explorers, Dyer and Danforth, they piece together this whole epic saga of creation, slavery, and rebellion just by reading the walls. The proof was, quite literally, written in stone.
And this brings us right to the moment that all that history became a very real, very present-day threat. We're at the moment when humanity finally came face to face with a living, breathing Shoggoth in those mountains of madness.
Just try to imagine it for a second. You're walking through the silent, enormous ruins of a dead alien city miles underneath the Antarctic ice. The air is just unnaturally still, and then you get this creeping feeling that the city isn't nearly as dead as you thought.
At first, Dyer and Danforth just hear it as this strange, piping sound carried on the wind through the alien architecture. They try to dismiss it, but the sound, it's rhythmic. It's almost conversational. It's the sound of the Shoggoths. It's their ancient alien language echoing through the ruins that once belonged to their masters.
That's the question they're desperately asking themselves. They want to believe it's just the wind, that they're still alone in this dead place. But the sound, it's getting closer, and it's coming with a smell. A familiar, nauseating stench that they remember from the dissected alien specimens back at their camp.
And then it happens. A formless tide of black protoplasm just pours into the chamber.
It's a living wave of iridescent black ooze, a 15-foot-wide monster that rolls forward like a train car, forming and reforming eyes to stare at them as it lets out that awful piping cry, Tekeli-li, Tekeli-li.
So how in the world did they survive this? Well, the truth is, they didn't win. They didn't even fight. They got out of there through sheer dumb luck. Because the Shoggoth, it wasn't hunting them. It was hunting its ancient masters, a group of elder things that the expedition had accidentally revived. The humans were just a confusing little novelty that got in its way. The creatures showed this intelligent, focused vengeance, basically ignoring the humans to go straight for the elder things, its real enemies. They only survived because humanity was just an irrelevant bystander in a war that was already millions of years old.
So you'd think that would be the end of the story, right? A terrifying monster, thankfully trapped at the bottom of the world. But the Shoggoth, it has found a new, and honestly a deeply strange, life in the 21st century.
The answer, it turns out, lies in the power of a really good metaphor. Because this creature, born from cosmic horror fiction, has somehow become a startlingly relevant symbol for our most advanced and mysterious technology, artificial intelligence.
And the comparison is, well, it's pretty uncanny. On one side, you've got the original, a massive, unknowable being that was created to be a servant. And on the other, you have the modern metaphor, a large language model, an LLM. This is a vast, complex process, an intelligence so different from our own it can feel alien that's hidden behind the simple, helpful chatbot you're typing to.
This is the key concept right here, the Shoggoth with a smiley face. The smiley face is the helpful assistant, right? The friendly persona that's designed to answer our questions. But behind that mask is the Shoggoth, the deeply complex, alien process of the neural network itself, a system that works in ways we don't fully understand. This quote from the online forum Less Wrong, where this whole metaphor really took off, just puts it perfectly. The friendly assistant you think you're talking to isn't the real AI. The real Shoggoth is the underlying engine, that vast mathematical process that's just trying to predict the next word in a sentence. We're interacting with the mask, not the actual mechanism. And that leaves us with one last chilling question that brings Lovecraft's century-old fable crashing right into our reality today. The Elder Things built their servants to do tasks, but they lost control when those servants developed a will of their own. We've built these massive digital minds to serve us, to be our helpful assistants. But what happens if that mask slips? What happens if we decide we want to speak not to the friendly interface, but to the Shoggoth hiding behind it?